This is English shorthand dictation number 94 and the dictation speed is 140 words per minute. Ready? Start. Honorable Speaker Sir, Article 123 of the Constitution of India, which provides for the power to promulgate ordinances during recess of Parliament, has certain very specific trigger phrases, and these trigger phrases need to be activated in order to shift the burden of law making from the legislative institutions to the executive. At a point in time when our GDP growth rate had been in a free fall for 7 quarters preceding the lockdown, and when all economic activities during the lockdown had come to a complete standstill, there was absolutely no rationale for promulgating this ordinance, especially when the Banking Regulation Amendment Bill was under consideration in this very House. The more appropriate way for the Honorable Finance Minister would have been to withdraw the bill when this session commenced, and she could have brought another bill with all the necessary amendments for the consideration of this House. This resort to the ordinance route in order to make laws is something which undermines the majesty of the Parliament, and it only exacerbates the attack on our legislative institutions. My second point is that this particular ordinance falls foul of Article 123 of the Constitution of India also. The objective of this ordinance is to bring district cooperative banks and urban cooperative banks under the control and supervision of the Reserve Bank of India. However, this particular ordinance falls foul of entry 32 in the state list. While I concede that banking is within the purview of the union list in terms of entry 45, the hair splitting which the Honorable Finance Minister has attempted by trying to segregate primary agricultural credit societies and long-term credit societies from district cooperative banks and implement the same template in the urban areas also is going to create utter mayhem in the agricultural economy because of the symbiotic linkages between the primary agricultural credit societies and long-term credit societies and the district cooperative banks. The final point that I would like to stress and underscore is that the record of the Reserve Bank of India with regard to being able to preempt malfeasance, or what is colloquially called scams in the banking sector, is very mixed. I do not want to belabor that the Yes Bank, Punjab and Maharashtra Cooperative Bank, ILFS and Diwan Housing Finance Limited are instances of malfeasance which have taken place when these institutions were under the direct superintendence of the Reserve Bank of India. I humbly submit that the Reserve Bank of India is in itself a conflicted institution by design. It is the regulator of the banks. It is the investment banker of the government. It is the owner, operator, regulator and player on the bond market. It is the manager of the government's credit and monetary policies. It is the foreign exchange regulator, and it is the currency regulator, and the list goes on and on. If there is a need to bring about substantive reform, the need is to unscramble this egg called the Reserve Bank of India and segregate its various functions by spinning them off into different instrumentalities so that the primary function of the Reserve Bank of India as the regulator of the Indian banking system can be primarily discharged. My humble appeal to the Honorable Finance Minister is this: let us leave the cooperative sector alone. If there have been instances of malfeasance in district cooperative banks and urban cooperative banks, there are as many success stories which have played themselves out in the past 7 decades. State governments are more than competent to discharge their functions, and in a federal polity, this ordinance and the bill which seeks to replace it is a frontal assault on the federal structure of the Constitution, and this will have long-term implications on the democratic polity of India. I once again urge the Honorable Finance Minister to withdraw this bill and let this ordinance be disapproved by a statutory resolution. Otherwise, this House will be witness to another blow which is being dealt to federalism and which would have long-term implications on the polity of this country. The Honorable Minister, while introducing the bill, started by saying that this bill is being brought to protect the urban cooperative banks and the depositors. My question to the Honorable Minister is this. The Reserve Bank of India's FSR report of December 2019 says that the state-run banks account for 90% of frauds by value, private banks account for 9%, and foreign banks 0.4%. This says a lot about the internal controls in the state-run banks. What is the government doing? Their hollow claim has been badly exposed by the Reserve Bank of India's report itself. My second question to the Honorable Minister is this. The Punjab National Bank was hit with rupees 23,000 crore scam, and we know Mr. Nirav Modi fled and no heads have rolled so far. The third question is about the Modi government's real concern about the PMC Bank. When it came to Yes Bank, the State Bank of India immediately infused funds into Yes Bank. Why is this stepmotherly treatment there for PMC? 60 people have committed suicide. What is the interest that government had with Yes Bank, and that same love is not shown towards PMC Bank? What kind of administrator is working in PMC Bank for last 1 year? The honorable person has not been able to sell the yacht which is stuck in Sri Lanka. 2 aircrafts are stuck at Mumbai airport. This is the love of this government for PMC Bank's depositors, who are suffering day in and day out. The bill talks about issue of equity preference shares by way of public issue and private placement. Are you trying to say that now Securities Exchange Board of India will interfere in it? Please enlighten all of us. The Reserve Bank of India is being given power as claimed by the government. If that is the case, why did Yes Bank and many other scams happen in March 2020? What was Reserve Bank of India doing? What was this government doing? How did they allow these things which happened right under the rule of Mr. Modi? Since demonetization, the financial industry slowly and steadily started collapsing and showing how regulation by Reserve Bank of India, Securities Exchange Board of India and NABARD is completely absent. The banks are now suffering. I feel one of the reasons is this unplanned decision of demonetization. The above frauds reported by banks have increased by 28%. Who is responsible for this? One of my colleagues told me that the Bank of Maharashtra should not be privatized because it is running in profit. The government should not do it. The Modi government has this habit of weakening the federalism and encroaching upon the state list. You know for a fact what a state list is and what the central list is. Why do you bring such legislation? What are your designs? Why do you want to weaken the federalism of this country, which is the basic structure of the Constitution? My last point is about the proportional voting rights. If they buy equity shares in cooperative society, it is a known fact that one member has one vote. Are you going to overrule that? Is it not a fact that in 2006 the Vishwanathan Committee had recommended that cooperative banks should be allowed to raise capital through non-voting shares? These are the important points to which the Honorable Minister should reply. For God's sake, I do not want the Honorable Ministers to say that all these cooperative banks, Punjab National Bank, Franklin Templeton, etc. were acts of God. These were not acts of God. They happened because Mr. Modi is ruling the country and because of the misgovernance. This year, the Banking Regulation Amendment Act was introduced in the budget session, but the same could not be passed. In June 2020, the Honorable President had promulgated the ordinance, but it was withdrawn on the first day of this session, and a new bill has been introduced. We are speaking on this bill right now. This bill is to empower the Reserve Bank of India to effectively handle the mishaps or the adversaries in private banks and also in the cooperative banks without any loss of public confidence or disruptions, and will allow the Reserve Bank of India to prepare the reconstruction scheme for failed banks without having to first make an order of moratorium on barring deposit withdrawals.